Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Let's heal together.
Listen to this, and I'll be back.
And understand the design of a male and female's makeup. God created a man to be an intellectual, analyzing being. That's why he's a hunter. That's why he's the head, he's the protector, he's the provider. He's not an emotional being, because if you got to hunt and go out there in the darkness, there wasn't no street lights back when God created man. There wasn't no street lights. So when it got dark, you still got to stay out here and hunt. You can't go back home without nothing. You can't let your fear rule you. Those are your emotions. You thinking, I got to feed this family, so I got to think past my fear and be courageous and kill whatever I got to kill and bring this meat back to the house. So the woman back at the house, she's a nurturer. She got to instill love and care and compassion into the baby. So she's all into her feelings. You really think for her. She feels for you. So you separate that. You ain't got a woman to feel for you. You end up feeling all your feelings and being with these emotional responses.
Charleston White is giving us his views on the male-female dynamics. Charleston White starts out giving the design of male and female according to God's plan. He says that the male is an intellectual, analyzing being. That makes him a hunter. That makes him the head. That makes him the protector. And that makes him the provider. He said the male is not emotional. When he's out hunting, he can't go back home with nothing. He has to have something to take back home. He says the male can't let fear rule over his emotions, because the male is thinking, I gotta feed my family. I have to think past fear and be courageous. I gotta kill whatever I gotta kill. Now, when he say kill what I gotta kill, does that just mean game? Or does that fall into anything that may be a detriment to him and his family? He says the male is thinking, I gotta bring meat back to the house. Now, here again, is he just talking about game? When the man says he has to bring meat back to the house, is he talking about stability? Is he talking about security? What meat does he have to bring back to the house? Stay tuned for another podcast where we go deeper beneath the crust with Charleston White. And then he goes on to talk about the woman back home. He said a woman back at the house is a nurturer. A woman loves, she cares, and she's compassionate. And she does all this. She pours all this into the babies. He says the female is all in her feelings. And then he goes on to say that males think for females and female feel for males. Think about that. He says the male thinks for females and the females feels for the male, because he's saying if the male don't have a female to feel for him, he's all up in his feelings. Now, I want to see the rest of that. I'm going to try to find the rest of that interview or whatever it was he was doing. Because, Charleston White, now, go beneath the crust. People say I go beneath the crust, but Charleston White go beneath the crust, the pan, and the table. He bring us some stuff to make us think. And I was thinking when he was talking about how there's some of us would argue the fact that there's no sexes. It's just one sex. We're all the same. If we were all the same, why is there two difference of us? He could have just made two men if there's no difference. But look, God told Adam, be fruitful and do what? Multiply. Adam couldn't be fruitful and multiply with another man. That's a biological fact. Come on beneath the crust and deal with it. So just by virtue of what it says in the creation story, be fruitful and multiply, there had to be two different ones there. Just like plugging in something into the wall. There has to be something for something to plug into, to make a baby, to make electricity come up to your whatever you want to come up to. So what do you think? What do you think about Charleston White, what he said in this particular clip? I'm not talking about anything else he said. I'm talking about in this particular clip. What do you think about that? Do you think the male actually thinks for the female? Do you think the female feels for the male? And now, when he says kill meat or bring meat back to the house, Is he just talking about gain? What other meats other than our list of stability and security? What other meat do you think the man could possibly bring back to the house? And then when he said, I gotta kill what I gotta kill, what exactly is he killing? Is he killing the enemy that comes to try to rob, steal, and kill? At some point, males and females, listen, at some point, we gotta have these discussions if we're to move forward together. Now, there's so much division and stuff going on because we've been told, and we listen to some of these people who will try to make us feel like there's something wrong with us. If we see, I'm a woman, a female, Female. I was a girl, and I became a young teen girl. I became a young lady. I became a woman. Now I'm an old woman. But all of that, I'm proud to be a she, a her. And I like me a him and a he. You see what I'm saying? So let's go beneath the crust. I would love for you to come on the show and discuss this. Matter of fact, I'd like a Charleston. Hey, Charleston White, where are you, boy? Come on. Come on beneath the crust if you dare. Or do I dare bring you beneath the crust? You know, with Charleston White, I might not even. But seriously, people, let's have a dialogue. And you know, when Charleston White was talking about God's plan, you know, and in the creation story, God made male and female. Male and female made he them. So in God's plan, there was a difference there. He didn't just make two men, as I said earlier. He didn't just make two females. God made male and female, and one of the requirements was for them to do what? What did God tell Adam to do? To go forth and replenish the earth. You know, we're supposed to go forth and they're supposed to have babies. Adam couldn't have had a baby if it would have been Adam and another Adam. Eve couldn't have had a baby if it would have been Eve and another Eve. So Adam and Eve, God made male and female. So there has to be a difference there. Well, there is a difference there. They have different roles. They have different purposes. Of course, we know men can't get pregnant. That's a biological fact. Men can't get pregnant. And women can't impregnate themselves. Unless they got a turkey baster, but that's a whole nother podcast, freaky stuff. The fact that one of the commandments, one part of God's plan was to be fruitful and multiply, that shows you that there had to be a male and a female. A male can't carry a baby. I remember this young brother one time we were talking, it's like back when I was young and saying crazy stuff. Some people say I never changed that, but you know, we was talking and I wanted to get a female to do something for me. And this brother wanted to do it, you know, fresh. He wanted to do it. And he told me to do whatever a woman could do. And I said, well, you can't carry a baby. You know what he told me? I said, no, but that's what I said to him. I said, you can't get pregnancy, yeah, but I can get you pregnant. So you see how that works. A boy can't get pregnant. A male can't get pregnant, but he can get a woman pregnant. A man can't carry a baby, but he can plant a baby where it can be carried. See how they work together? So when you think about how they work together according to God's plan, Charleston White may be onto something. Male, female. You try to blur your role. Why did you do it? And you remember this. If they close my book, you remember my story. I'm Lily Bayer. Be encouraged. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Support our youth in any way you can. Keep on churning till the butter comes. A Nat Turner Runner production. Lock and load. Lily Bayer. Be encouraged.